Yo, all you see is this female. She had a big old knife, bro. It looked like a machete. And she grabs it out of her like right pocket, or she had like something holding it up, and she swipes, right? And we're like, bro, what the heck just happened, bro? Why did it escalate that much? And I'm looking, and cause I'm a little further, I'm on the further end, but then I look at my homies and they're all like screaming, bro, like what? Like cursing and screaming. And bro, he turns around and his throat is slit, bro, like slit. He's bleeding, he's literally bleeding out. He's holding his throat in. And I'm like, oh man, like, what am I looking at right now, bro? I came from Honduras when I was 7, so I turned 8 here. I had a Christian background, but I didn't really get involved with church until later on. My upbringing was, it was for me, it was rough because I had to, adjust to coming into a new country. Didn't really know the language. It was difficult because I had to experience a lot of bullying, and so I started lashing out, because what I expected from everybody was bad. Really, I was aggressive, defensive, because I felt attacked most of the time. Even with my teachers, man, like some of my teachers would make fun of me because I didn't know how to simply ask them that I needed to go to the bathroom. So, I remember experiencing things like that. And I'm like, yo, like, there's really no safe place outside of like home,
Obviously, you're a Christian, and before becoming a Christian, there was a lot of things that the world, that the enemy put you through. Could you just share some of those things? I know it's a lot of them, but...
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I got abused. So I experienced abuse when I was younger by somebody close to me. So that definitely brought out a curiosity in me.
What kind of abuse?
Sexual abuse. I was molested by somebody close to me, and so it was painful because I didn't really understand the why, and I would most of the time, thinking back on it, I would blame myself, and so it was confusing as a child. But then again, I was like, okay, so what is this? And now I'm curious about it.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 8.
8 years old.
Yeah, it happened as soon as I got here. So, yeah, and I had experienced that in Honduras, but it was with somebody my age. So it didn't feel, like wrong. But then when I came here, it was somebody who was older than me. And so I was like, what the heck? Like, what's going on? Like, why is this happening?
How long did that go for?
It just happened once. It just happened once, but that one time that it happened, it was enough for me to like be confused about myself, because the person who did that to me was a male, and so I'm not a homosexual, and so it was confusing because I'm like, why did I let this happen? Why did I do this? Why did I say yes to this? Most of the times that I was curious, all of the times that I was curious, it was always with the other sex. So, with the opposite sex. So it was very weird for me, like that experience. It was traumatic, so.
I know that you had a background in gang activity, gang lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Could you share a little bit about that? Did that come into play right after these encounters, or when exactly did that begin in your life?
So I was, I met a friend at school. Right, and I think I was turning 15. I was turning 15 because it was my freshman year, and I didn't really know that his family, they were Bloods, and like old school Bloods, Army Bloods, people who traveled from place to place, and they started repping that set, and they were bounty hunter Bloods. It's a set here in Maryland. I didn't know about that, right? So I would go to my friend's house. We would smoke weed, drink a little bit, do certain things here and there, but nothing serious, right? As I got older, I think 16, 17, I started seeing that it was a lot more organized than I thought. I think at that age, 16, that's when you started to hear more about promethazine and Xanax and all these other drugs that people didn't really know, like, their potential. Well, for me, it was new. Everything was new, right? So started selling some of that. Started selling some of that in school. I got really big in school, and I wasn't a part of the set yet. At 16, I wasn't a part of the set. I was just affiliated. I didn't even know that they would really keep it under wraps. They wouldn't just let anybody, in. But like I said, I had my good friend, he was the youngest of the family. And so just hanging out with him, I was involved. And anyways, going back to school, I started selling drugs. I started selling a lot of weed, but then it wasn't enough to really, meet that need that I had, which is I've always had an interest in money. And so I started, orchestrating just ways of making more money. And the school that I went to was perfect. Everybody was honestly pretty much ghetto and really wanted to, party and go all out. So I started selling Xanax, and then I started selling Molly, started mixing Molly and Coke, and then I just started selling Coke. From there, I started basically going into other schools. So I was at Northwood. Then I started sending some of my friends. It literally went that deep. I started sending some of my friends who I knew personally to go to different schools to sell there. So after school, everybody knew who to go to get what they needed, whether it was weed, Xanax, ecstasy. I mean, honestly, we sold pretty much everything. So, yeah, I think where it started to affect me more, like personally, where, this whole me being in this lifestyle started to affect me more was when I joined, right? When I got initiated. And the way I got initiated was at 16. I got called from one of the homies, and they were like, we're meeting up for a cookout in Glenmont. I was like, all right, cool. I'm, going to a cookout. I'm dressed all nice, about to go eat. And I'm thinking it's about to be a good old time. And, man, I get there, and we're in the, it was an apartment, but, we were in like the grass area of the apartment. The apartment was on the bottom floor. And man, it looked creepy, bro. Like like nobody could see you there. It was real well hidden, like in a corner. And so I get there, and I see it's like 10 deep, and I'm talking about grown man, like 30 plus, built as heck, tatted up. One of my homies, like I said, I don't really want to say their names. There's no purpose of that, but he had just got out of jail, and we knew what he was about. And they start talking to me, right? And they're like, all right, it's time. Y'all got to get down. Y'all been around us too much. Y'all know what we do. Y'all are contributing. So let's get y'all down. And so they asked me a simple question. They were like, how do you want to get down? You want to get jumped in, or you want a mission? And, I was like, I'm the smallest there. I'm the youngest there. So in my young mind, I'm like, man, jump me in. Let's go, jump me in. Let's do it. And my older cousin, who's 6'6", linebacker, he's like, man, I want the mission. And so they looked at him. They're like, yo, this young buck, he's about to get down by getting a beat down, and you wanna go on a mission? They were like, no, you about to get jumped right now. And they were like, your mission, they were talking to me, your mission's to jump him in. And I was like, what? And so I looked at my cousin, I'm like, dang, son, like I gotta dog my cousin. And so guess who jumped him in with me? It was my homie, the one I grew up with, basically. And we put him in the middle. We're all surrounding him, but it's just two of us at first. And so we start fighting with him. He's turned towards my homie, and then I start dogging him. And I think that moment was because now I don't really have a relationship with my cousin. That moment, I think, shifted something in our relationship, because what I did to him wasn't good. But then after that, we got turned, started drinking, heavily drinking, and then that's basically how I got in. And then after that, that's when it started getting a bit crazy. We started collecting rent from the neighbors, whoever was selling drugs. And the thing is, we knew, like I said, I went to a school where everybody was selling drugs. Like, everybody was selling drugs. And so we knew the people in our neighborhood who we needed to go to and be like, you owe me some money. Like, you're selling here, you owe me some money. And so if they didn't want to comply, they would get run up on, like, their house, you know, their families would get hurt. I saw a lot of that. I saw some rape too. Some females getting raped because they were drinking too much. It's a bit much for me now to think about it, because obviously I got Jesus now, but when I think about stuff like that, like, it makes me emotional. I didn't really take part in that, because it just wasn't me. You know, that wasn't me. I was more about the drugs. I like to party, you know. I also like to fight. I was a big fighter, you know, growing up. That was my thing. You know, everybody looked at me, they're like, oh, look at this young kid, like, he's small. I was like, I ain't that small, bro. Like, you know, I would fight a lot, especially when I would get drunk. Like, when I would drink, I started to get a lot more violent and aggressive, even with the way I would talk. I would fight the homies, like, every time I would drink. Like, everybody knew if Isaac's drinking, somebody's gonna fight. And so that's just how it was. I did see somebody get killed. I remember being at a house in that same neighborhood, and we were all basically on coke. And I seen this female come up to one of he's not a homie, so I can say his name. His name is Bob. And she comes up to Bob, and she's selling him coke, right? And he opens it up. He takes you know, a good sniff of it, and it's what's it called? It's watered down. She mixed it with Molly, and so he's pissed. He could taste, you know, Molly's bit. You don't know Molly's bitter. You know, it's not the same as Coke. You could tell the difference with, you know, with Coke and with something that's mixed with Coke. And so, you know, automatically Bob was like, you know, calling her a B, this and that, cursing her out. Yo, all you see is this female. She had a big old knife, bro. It looked like a machete. And she grabs it out of her, like, right pocket, or she had, like, something holding it up, and she swipes, right? And we're like, bro, what the heck just happened, bro? I didn't escalate that much. And I'm looking, and because I'm a little further, I'm on the further end, but then I look at my homies, and they're all like screaming, bro, like, what? Like, cursing and screaming. And, bro, he turns around and his throat is slit, bro. Like, slit. He's bleeding. He's literally bleeding out. He's holding his throat in. And I'm like, oh, man, like, what am I looking at right now, bro? And so literally we were all in shock. I think at most a few seconds pass by, and we start hearing sirens. And I'm like, oh, heck no. So I'm turned. Like, I'm turned. I have no clue what I'm about to do. I throw myself off the porch. I hurt myself. I throw myself over the metal fence, and I start running. I'm running. And I hear the cops behind me. I'm like, oh, bro, I'm about to get caught up. I get underneath the van, right? And the cops are on foot now, and they're passing literally through me. I see their feet. They're passing in flashlights. My cousin got bagged. He got locked up for that. Just because, like I said, being there, we had drugs there. A couple minutes, you know, pass. I get out of the van. I think it's safe. Nah, bro, they're out. They turn off their flashlights. They're out. And I keep running because I hear them. They're like, stop. And I'm like, nope, gone. I start hopping fences, right? Bruh, tell me why they let dogs loose. They let the dogs loose on us. And so I'm running from the cops, and I hear the dogs coming, and I jump over one last fence, and then I see a porch with a screen at the bottom of the porch. But I was like, nah, like, a dog will get me there. And so I was like, nah. And so I'm like trying to figure out where I go, and there's a shed. I go to the shed. I go behind the shed, and there's a whole bunch of wood. Yo, I start digging up the wood, and I start throwing it on myself, bro, and throwing dirt all over myself. I don't know how, bro, the dogs didn't get me. Like, I was there literally like 4 hours, bro, just waiting it out. And I think it's like, at that point, it was like probably like 6 a.m. It's already morning time. And so I'm coming out. It was safe, you know, for me to come out. And then I start calling people. I'm like, yo, what happened? You know, they're like, Bob's in the ICU. You know, we don't know if he's gonna make it. my cousin's locked up because he was like drunk, and a few other homies got caught up that day. But man, I got away. I got lucky, bro.
So how did this all turn around? Because obviously now you have, you have some trauma from childhood.
Yeah.
Going through high school.
Yeah.
You're seeing these crazy things. You're going through these crazy experiences.
Yeah.
And pain, trauma, and all of these things are just accumulating in your life. So what was the turnaround?
So, all right. So towards the end of my old life, right? I'm gonna say it like this. Towards the end of my old life, I started drinking more. When I started drinking more, that's when things started to shift around me. I started becoming a lot more violent and aggressive and careless. I got into hit and runs. I got into 2 hit and runs. One of them I got away with. The other one I got caught in. I had popped Xanax and drank like probably half of a Hennessy bottle, and passed out. I woke up, thought it was the same day. It was literally like a day and a half later. And since I was drinking like in the afternoon around 6, and I literally woke up like I think the next morning, like early morning. My mom's knocking on my door. She's like, "Yo, your cousin's getting arrested." I'm drunk, bro. Like I'm twisted off of Xanax. I popped a Xanax, and I didn't feel anything, and so I was like, whatever. I'm gonna pop another one, and twisted, bro. Xanax makes you lose like gaps of time. Like if you were drunk, it makes you feel like if you were drunk, honestly. So yeah, I get in the car with my mom. I don't even know what the heck's going on. She's like, "Oh, your cousin's getting arrested. He lives like 3 blocks away." We get to the house, and my cousin's outside fighting with my uncle because he wanted to get inside the house. My uncle wouldn't let him get inside the house, and all you hear is the sirens, right? And I'm over here like on GTA mode or something. I get in the car, and my mom's outside of the car at this point. I get in the car, and I call my cousin. I'm like, "Get in the car." I'm twisted. And my mom's looking at me, scared out of her life, bro. My cousin gets in the car, and the cop pulls up behind me, right? As soon as he does that. And then I didn't even know what was going on. And so my mom, she tries to open the door, and I hit the gas. Bro, I almost ran over my mom, because her feet were at one point like underneath like the wheel. But thankfully, the cop came out on time and yanked her out of the way, bro. After that, that hurt me more because I was like, "Yo, I'm stupid, man. I'm careless. I'm careless. I don't know what I was doing." And so I'm speeding in this car. I'm sharing all of this because it's important to why I was like, something needs to change. And so I'm speeding, like going 50 miles per hour in a neighborhood, making turns in an SUV at like 50 miles per hour, and I lose control of the car. I run into a house. I run into a car. I get the car out of the house. I run into a car, and then I think I'm good, and I'm running into literally I'm like boom, 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 just smacking cars, and then finally I smack the car into a tree, right, or something like that. The tree freaking dies. The tree's dead. And some bushes. They're definitely dead. And I don't know what to do, right? I'm stuck there. The car's messed up. And somehow the car was still running, all beat up like that. I get to my, I drive to my people's house, right? I drop off my cousin. I drive to my people's house. And then the cops pull up at my house. But I didn't know that the reason that they pulled up at my house was because I had called them. See, I had lost like moments of time where, I called the police trying to tell them like, "Hey, I just freaking messed up, ran over a whole bunch of cars in the house." And they come and they're like, "Are you okay? What did you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I lost control of the car, this and that." They're like, "Are you intoxicated?" I'm like, "No." at that point, I wasn't drunk anymore. I was just off Xanax. Like the Xanax were still in my system. They couldn't test that. So I'm like, just test me, right? Because I knew I knew the liquor was out. So I was like, just test me. I took a shower before they came. I didn't even know why I was taking a shower. I literally took a shower. The cops show up at my house. I look at my mom's car. That joint's done. And I'm there in front of cops like, what the freak? Like, what am I doing? And my mom's like begging them not to like, lock me up, this and that. They just took me to the station and, had me there for a couple hours, trying to ask me questions and stuff like that. And I was just like, man, I was just trying to get my cousin out of a messed up situation because I know the way you guys treat him. Because the thing is, my cousin's in jail right now, right? He's been in jail for the past 10 years. And so, they're asking me, why did you run away with him? I'm like, because every time you guys see him, you start dogging him because he's 6'6", like big dude. They get scared. My cousin's not a punk, so he just talks to them however he wants to, obviously. So that was my mind. That was my mindset. Like, I might get this fool out of harm's way. And so they were like, okay, that makes sense, or whatever. That's what they said. I was like, okay, I guess that does make sense. And so that's when it kind of like tipped over, where it was like, all right, like the next time something like this happens, I might not get so lucky. You know what I'm saying? Because I started getting real crazy. I'm gonna share something else though. Hopefully it's okay. Right before I got saved, I remember I had pulled up on a drug dealer, right? He had an O of some gas that I thought was some gas, and he showed it to me. It looked good. I get to my homie's house and I'm like, yo, I just got an O. We're about to start weighting it and bagging it up. And so I'm making like dimes and dub bags and tray fives and stuff like that. And I'm like, yo, dude, this weed looks weird at the bottom. And so I look at the weed, right? And I'm like, yo, this is Reggie. Like, he sold me Reggie mixed with Loud, right? So I was blown, bro. And so basically I call him back and I'm like, yo, let me get another one of them. Just let me get two. I asked him for 2 more O's, right? And he's like, all right, I got you, right? And he didn't know I knew, because anybody would have called him, start spazzing on him, saying, oh, I'm gonna do this to you, I'm gonna murk you. I was like, nah, I'm gonna call him. I'm asking for some more, because he had already took 250 from me. I'm like, all right, you think you about to take 500 more from me? You're not. And so, I'm driving in my Monte Carlo. I had a strap on me, and he pulls up, and I'm with my homie. My homie's in the passenger seat. My homie gets out. He gets into the back of the car, and it's a two-door car, right? He can't go nowhere. And so I pull out my strap, and I'm like, run everything. I want everything. So I'm like, yo, as soon as I pulled out my strap on him, he was like shook, and he crapped himself. Like, he crapped himself. Yeah, he crapped himself. And so literally, we're in the car and we start smelling that crap. My homie grabs the strap out my hand and he starts beating him with the strap. He's dogging him with the strap. He has the 2 O's in his hand. I'm like, yo, don't mess up the weed. So I grab the weed out of the way, and he's dogging him. And so we took his shoes, took some of his. There's a reason I'm sharing both of these stories. I took his shoes, his wallet. He had like a watch or something like that, and we throw him outside the car. He's messed up. All right, so hit and run. Had put a strap on a well-known like drug dealer around the area. I felt it. I felt like something was going to happen to me. So remember, it's New Year's 31st, and I'm with a female, right? I'm laying on my bed. 2015. I'm laying on my bed, and I'm like drunk as heck, and I start crying. I'm like, I had a Christian upbringing in a sense of like I knew that there was a God and like he was out there. I had told him, I was like, yo, Like I remember saying, I was like, yo, like if you don't get me out of this, I'm done. Like I knew it. Like I knew that like 2016 was my last year. Like I felt it, right? I knew that something was gonna happen. So I was like, if you don't either OD or whatever, because I was doing hard drugs, like, you know, like hardcore. And so I'm like, man, if you don't take me out of this, I ain't gonna make it, right? And so and I didn't know how much that moved God's heart for me to say that to him in the state where I was, because he saw how broken I was. He saw how messed up he knew that I couldn't quit. You know, he knew it. I was done. And so I think January, February come, and I start hearing these voices. Like, you know, I didn't know whose voice that was, but I started hearing this, right? I started hearing this. I'm gonna use everything. Like, just like that. I'm gonna use everything that you've gone through. And I'm like, what? And I start hearing this. I'm gonna get you out. Just like that, right? And so my cousin Jasmine, right? She had like been like trying to take me to church, and so I would go to her church, and it's a church in Lanham, and I would like be there and just fall asleep. Like I would be at the church, and the preacher's preaching right here. I'm right there, and I'm knocked out, and I didn't care, you know, like I didn't care about the message. I didn't care what he was sharing. And so through the course of the next, from the end of the year 2015 through like June, I knew that there was something different because I kept hearing God's voice. I didn't know it was God's voice at the time, but I kept hearing his voice. Like literally telling me like, I'm gonna use all of this crap that you've been doing for good. I'm gonna use it, right? And every time, it would be every time when I would get drunk. Every time when I was turned, like people were like, oh, you were just drunk. Nah, that was God. He was telling me. So June, right? I get to June. I'm with a female right now. I'm still like kind of running away from God. I hear him, but I'm running away. And this female that I was with, she was in love with me. She's a young girl, and honestly, I didn't really care much for her. Like I just didn't care, you know. I was just using her, and I remember laying in bed with her. I'm half asleep. And I'm telling her like, yo, like, after, you know, doing whatever I was doing with her, I was like, yo, like, I don't want to be with you no more. Like, just like that. And I didn't know I had said that. And she starts like banging on my chest and like hitting me on it. She's like, why would you say that? And then, you know, we get into an argument, right? Then literally I had remembered, this was like a Thursday. I had remembered that Jasmine had invited me to a base camp, which was an event that King of the Nations would do for the young and the young adults and the youth. And she didn't call it a retreat. She was like, "Hey man, we're doing we're going to a base camp. It's like a camp, you know, and it should be fun." You know, she knew that if she would have said anything along retreat, that I would have said no. But the truth is that I was so broken that I was looking for anything to help me. So I would have said yes either way. And so in my mind, though, I was like, you know what? There might be a couple little females at the camp. I told her, I was like, you know what? Let me see if I can get off work. You know, let me see if I can get off work. There was no work that weekend anyways. I was working for a moving company already. And so I come to church. I'm on my way to this retreat, right? Base camp. I get there, it's like, you know, we left at like 1, it's probably like 4 or 5 by the time we get there, something like that. I get to the main auditorium, and I'm instantly furious. Instantly. Like bitter, like just angry. I'm so frustrated with what I'm looking at. What I was looking at is just people giving praise, right, to Jesus. But it looked like a concert to me. I was like, I don't know, bro. Like I was just disgusting. I didn't like it. And I go to the back. I'm still looking to the front, you know, where people are doing with disgust. And I had Jonathan come over. Jonathan Santos. He comes over to me. He's like, hey, you know, can I pray for you? I don't remember what he prayed, but it was powerful. It was powerful. As soon as he was done, honestly, I didn't hear any of the words he said, but as soon as he was done, when I looked at the crowd, I started crying. And it was like the Lord came. I had like a veil over my eyes, and he just took it, you know? And I started crying. And there was an understanding that is what I was supposed to be doing, you know? There was an understanding that is what I was created for, you know? I didn't know how to put the language to it, but there was an understanding there. And so I start crying. I'm telling the Lord, I'm like, man, I messed up, man. I was like, you know, if you help me, I'm gonna do it. Like, if you really take it, I'm gonna do it. I told him I can't do drugs no more. I told him I don't want to do them no more. I don't want to drink no more like the way I've been drinking. So I was like, I'll do it if you help me, because if not, I won't quit. Right? And so the whole weekend, right? I'm part of Carlos, you know, our director, our pastor. He's our young adult pastor, and I'm a part of his group, you know, and we're doing devotionals in the morning, and we're like praying, man, and like doing a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was like, okay, word up. And I'm like, this is weird, you know. For me, it was just weird. And so I was like, okay, cool. So there was like this point during one of those devotionals where they're like, you know, we're praying for healing. I'm like, oh, forget healing. And so this guy named Daniel that was there, he had like something on his finger, and I prayed for him, bro, and it healed. You know, Carlos was like, lay your hands over him and just say, in Jesus' name, be healed. I was like, all right, you know, lay my hands on his finger. I'm like, in Jesus' name, be healed. And then Daniel starts smiling. He's looking at me. He's like, bro, it feels much better. It's healed. I'm like, what the heck? And the thing is, like, I don't know what was going on, but when I laid my fingers on it, I could feel something underneath my fingers just move, right? And it felt like something was moving. I was like, what the heck? And then after that, bro, like, it built faith in me, because I was like, yo, like, this may not be like no joke. like something's going on. And then the weekend goes by, amazing weekend, a lot of like revelation, things that I didn't know about God, right? And I love the perspective of our church that we seek God's heart. We seek the love of God. We seek to be more like Christ. That is the revelation, you know, that I received. And so I'm on the bus back, right, or it was like a bus or something. Or a car, I don't remember. But I'm on the way back to church, and I'm worried. You know, I'm worried. I'm like, man, when I go back, yo, I had an entire like shelf of liquor, you know, in my room. I had a whole bunch of weed. I had cocaine. I had pills everywhere. I'm worried, bro. I'm like, man, what's going on? Like, I was a bit anxious. I was like, when I go back, I'm gonna fall back into it. And I told Jasmine, I'm like, Jasmine, I need you to do something with me. I need you to go back to my room, and I need you to help me. I need you to help me get rid of some of the stuff I have. And so we literally get to the house. I'm picking up, you know, all the bottles and putting them in a pot and like burning it all, because I know if I would have thrown it in the trash, I was gonna go right back and get it. Right? That's what I thought. I was like, if I put it in the trash, I'm going to go back and get it. So I grabbed the weed, I put it in the same pot, and I grabbed, like, I think gas or something like that, and lit it up, right? I forgot I had the Coke. There was Coke in my room, so I left the Coke there. I got rid of that later. I go to work. It was a Sunday, I think, afternoon. I go to work the next day on Monday. And as soon as I get to work, you know, to the client's house, I'm a mover, to the client's house, the house that we were working at, she was smoking cigarettes and weed. I tried to go in there. I couldn't. I used to smoke cigarettes heavily, bro. Like literally, probably a pack or two a day. And I went in there. I told the guys, I was like, yo, I'm sorry, yo. Like, I feel like throwing up. I can't go in there. I can't do it. And so for the next year to 2 years, I had this thing where if I would get around somebody who either smelled like cigarettes or liquor or anything like that, I would know. I could feel it. I could feel the Spirit of God like telling me like, that's not good. That's not good. You know, not necessarily telling me that they weren't good, that they didn't need him, but telling me that wasn't good for me. And so it would also help because, you know, I started praying. Then I started praying for people, and I'm like, yo, I know what he's dealing with. Like, I could feel it, you know. So it also woke something up in me spiritually to discern when somebody was either intoxicated or had been intoxicated or, you know, is addicted to something. Same thing with pornography, things like that, addictions, whatever it is. I can feel that on people, and, you know, I can discern it, you know. I don't like to put people's things out there, so I wouldn't, even if I feel it on you, it's not like I'm gonna, you know, be like, yo, go now, you know. But I'll call it out, and then in love, you know.
What happened with all the people that you were around? You know, the lifestyle. Like, how did that go away? Did it go away gradually, or how did that happen?
Oh, nah, it went away instantly. So, well, I say instantly because what had happened right throughout that January to June period, right, those 6 months, what had happened was a rape charge hit the neighborhood, and so gang unit got involved. They were looking for a way in, right? And they were like, this is the way to dismember the set. This is what we're gonna do. And so everybody started getting booked. And so, you know, like for the rape charge, like asking questions, like, were you there? Did you see anything? We didn't even know what. I never found out to this day what really happened, you know. But there was definitely like it was just hot. Like everybody was like ghost. Nobody was talking to each other. Nobody knew if somebody was talking. Nobody was talking to each other, right? And so it gave me like the perfect like exit point. And then I remember after I got saved, I would get the eventual like call or text, and I would tell them, I'm like, yo, like, I'm going to church. You know, I gave my life to Jesus. I decided to walk with him. And they didn't like that. They didn't like that. They were like, oh, okay. You know, it was honestly, that call was only from maybe 2 people. And people who didn't really, I'm not gonna say it mattered, but they didn't had the potential to do anything about it, you know, to me. But there was always that worry because, you know, you don't just get out like that. You know, that's not how you get out. And so I was worried for 2 years, 3 years. I was worried. I was like, yo, like at any point, you know, I could be target. So, or I am a target. That was my thought. I am a target. And so I remember my house got like shot up. But it wasn't like, I don't think it was, we weren't there. We were in Miami. I remember my house got shot up. And I come back, I didn't find any shells or anything like that, any bullet shells or anything like that. But my window had got shot up, and I didn't know whether it was a gun or not. You know what I'm saying? And it literally went in through the window of the door. Like they had pointed the gun through the window of the door, and it had gone out through another window. So we saw like the bullet hole. I was like, oh crap, like, you know, it's crazy. And so I was always like, honestly, I was pretty worried for my family and for myself, because I was like, yo, like, you know, maybe they are, like, you know, gonna come through. I started working for Amazon, And on one of the routes I go on, I'm in the Gaithersburg area, and I get out of my van in a parking lot, around a couple buildings. I'm in the middle of like 4 or 5 buildings in a parking lot, and I get out, and out the corner of my eye, I see like 6, 7 of my homies, and I'm like, bruh. I thought they hadn't seen me, but my older homie, big homie, came up to me, and he was like, "Where have you been?" And I was like, "I've been going to church." That's all I could like manage to say. I was scared, honestly. I was scared, And he tells me, he was like, "Man, that's good." He says, "We used to be friends." And then he just walks away, just like that. And I could tell you that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like that. So Jesus gives you the grace and gives you that favor to walk with him, that strength to walk with him, the ability to walk with him. You don't do it by yourself. And that's what I got from that. Like, I was like, man, I was worried for no reason. I should have just trusted you, that you were literally gonna see me through the valley. You took me out of something, you're gonna finish it, right? And so, yeah, with that being said, that's kind of the end of that. I haven't had any contact with any of my old homies from that point.
How long have you been walking with Jesus now?
5 years. 5 years.
Now, looking back at obviously your whole life now, reflecting, you're 24 years old. Obviously, you have a whole life ahead of you, God willing, right?
Oh, yeah.
God
willing.
But reflecting on these 24 years of everything that you've been through, then coming to know Jesus, what can you say that Jesus has done in your life?
What hasn't he done? He's done everything. I have a new life. When the Bible says that we literally die and become new, in Jesus, it's quite real. Like, we're a completely different person. So he's done everything. I'm not the person who I used to be. I don't think anybody here would have liked the person that I used to be. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't things that need to be worked on. There's a lot of things that need to be worked on, a lot of character issues, a lot of mindsets that still, to this day, even, I'm getting married in 2 months, to this day, need to be dealt with because of the lifestyle that I chose to live back then. God's still refining me, like a diamond. I like to think of it like that, like a diamond. You find a diamond, it's rough, but then you begin to smooth out the edges and you make it something beautiful. And that's what the Lord does with us. He molds us. He begins to shape everything about us. If there's an area in our lives that hasn't been transformed by Jesus, it's because we haven't given him the access, or because we haven't been through that process yet. It is a process of refinement. And so, yeah, I'm in that process still. I think I'll be in that process until I die. There's a lot of things that still have to go that aren't God, but I aspire to be more like Jesus.